So as of now, the Browns sit at number 3. And I haven't done everything I'm talking about draft-wise is all just off the top of my head now. I haven't looked deeply at anybody. It's just based off the little, like the college football I've watched and just things like clips on TikTok as I'm scrolling and listening to podcasts, Todd McShay talk, that kind of stuff. So this isn't anything like, don't come at me and say that guy's actually terrible or I don't know yet. Okay. I'm still been torturing myself with watching the Browns for some reason. But there's, for me, a couple different things that the Browns can do that wouldn't anger me, at least just off the top of my head, as we sit here today. I think if you stay in that top 3, you're going to take a quarterback. I think if Shedeur and Cam Ward are available, you can't pass on them. You need one. And your best bet is to have one on a rookie contract. Like that's your best bet.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick because I've now that we've moved up into that top 3, which, a couple weeks ago, I was on this podcast saying there's no way we're getting inside the top 5. I never saw the Giants winning. I played the Colts defense in a league yesterday, and I might lose because of it. I did not think the Giants were ever going to win another game. So here we are. We're up at 3. And, you made the point last week, I think it was, or maybe the week before about Myles Garrett. Should we trade him and stuff like that? And you said, well, having Garrett on the roster has not, correlated with a whole lot of winning. And what does? It's the quarterback position. And even if neither of these quarterbacks at this moment are looked upon as, a Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or some of these guys from last year, whatever. Drake May. I can't say, I knew it was New England. I think until you get the quarterback position figured out, you're not going to win games anyway.
Oh, no, 100%. And here's the thing is, if you're going to take the quarterback, okay, you need to make that decision basically as soon as the season's done and the draft order is set. You need to know this is who we're taking, okay? And then everything you do in this offseason needs to be tailored to it working with him. Don't try to, whatever quarterback you're going to take, plug him into your system and make him fit into your system. Like Jaden Daniels wouldn't work in, 15 different offensive systems around the league. They know they're gonna take Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams, like they both have running and throwing ability, and then they go get Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who has college concepts in his offense, who can get the most out of his guys. They build the rest of their roster around we're going to run this offense because this is the kind of offense that our quarterback is the most comfortable in. And so we're going to get players that fit this offense to run this offense at the highest level because we're putting so much into this quarterback. That's what the Browns need to do. So I want to get rid of Ken Dorsey. And if that means going back to Kevin running the team and running the offense, that's good. But if you're going to go get Cam Ward, we're probably not going back to 100% Kevin's offense. You need to go find an offensive coordinator that can maximize Cam Ward's strengths. And then everything Andrew Berry does in free agency and the rest of the draft needs to be tailored to optimizing that system around Cam Ward. So, and I'm just using Cam Ward as an example. Okay. Or Shedeur. You need to build like Lamar Jackson. If he gets drafted by a bunch of other teams, he's probably not even still playing. But the Ravens did such a good job of drafting him and then putting him in an offensive system to maximize his talents, especially early when he wasn't a great thrower of the football, and that allowed him to utilize his strengths, improve on his passing. And now, like Lamar still misses layups sometimes, but there's no denying that he's a good throwing quarterback. Okay, he's above average at passing, and they built an offense around him tailored to they maximized his strengths and allowed him to develop his weaknesses into strengths. That's what the Browns need to do. If you're going to take one of these quarterbacks, you have to build around him. And I'm not saying you have to bring him in and start him right away, but he needs to start this year. If you're going to draft Cam Ward, I'm still on board with going and getting a gap bridge quarterback for 1 year in free agency so he can sit. But you need to start putting players on this roster and running an offense that is going to be great for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or whoever it is. I just off the top of a couple of things I've said. If we're sitting at 3 and somebody really wants a quarterback and you're not completely sold on one of them, you can't trade. I'm not trading out of like the top 7. You can't trade back out like too far. We need too much talent at the top. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's plenty of teams in that top 10 that are going to be vying for a quarterback, you know. So if somebody does want a guy, we would not fall out of probably the top 7.
Yes. So, if you, a lot of people are banging the drum to fall back. So you trade back a few spots, get a haul, and then I'm saying go get a bridge quarterback, draft Genty, and add lineman in free agency in the middle rounds. And now all of a sudden you got a bridge veteran quarterback who you think who can lead you next year. You got an explosive playmaker at the running back position. You bring back Jerry Jeudy at receiver. You still have David Njoku, and then you bolstered the offensive line in free agency in the second, third rounds of the draft. All of a sudden your offense looks a lot better. I think that's one option. I think another option. This is one I just thought of today. I like Shedeur and Cam Ward. I'm really starting to like how much football Cam Ward has played. Like he played a lot of football, and we see these guys. I mean, Bo Nix, for example. Nobody was high on Bo Nix, but he played a shit ton of college football.
Yeah,
and you're seeing then he's not overwhelmed by things. He's seen so much football. He's seen a lot of things. He can process information, and he's playing. If Jaden Daniels was having a crazy season, Bo Nix would probably be rookie of the year.
And Jaden Daniels played a lot of college ball.
Yes. So I'm starting to really like, and not only did he play a lot of college ball, he excelled at literally every single, at all different levels of college football. He started real small. Then he goes to Washington State, Division I, but still a little smaller. Then he goes to Miami, like a bigger time program, has one of the best seasons, a Miami Hurricane quarterback's ever had. So I'm really starting to like that out of Cam Ward. And so take him at 3. Use the middle rounds to bolster whatever, take another running back, taking a running back. Genty won't still be there. Maybe you get a Bravion Henderson or the guy out of Iowa in the second or third. Then I'm saying in the 4th or 5th, depending on how it's looking, how it's shaking out, take a flyer on like a Dylan Gabriel. So don't just take one quarterback in this draft. I think Dylan Gabriel's the guy from Oregon.
Yeah, so RG3 and Kirk Cousins. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I said. And you bring them in, and you're not just giving it to Cam Ward. You're like, hey, we're drafting you, but we're bringing in this guy too. You still got to come in. You got to prepare. We're not just handing the keys to you. And obviously, it's your job to lose. But I think get a security blanket. Do an RG3 or a Kirk Cousins. If you have to spend 2 picks on a quarterback to get it right, who cares? It's clearly the most important position, and it's the position we have yet to hit on. So if it takes two picks in the same draft to get it right, who cares? You know what I mean? And what at the 5th round, if he falls to the 5th, why not take a flyer on a guy who is extremely talented, but just maybe a little bit small? I would do something like that. And then I'm still bringing in the bridge. And a couple, I know Kirk Cousins' name's been thrown out. I've said Derek Carr a lot. Another guy I think could be under the radar that I think is going to be available is like a Drew Lock. Could be a bridge quarterback.
So one thing, Drew Lock, we can talk about that. But another guy that I've been pretty hopeful the Browns might at least have a swinging chance at would be Justin Fields. And I think depending what sort of contract he's looking at, because he's a similar type of quarterback to what you're trying, I think, to establish in your system. If you take a Cam Ward or Shedeur, I mean, more Cam Ward, I think, because
Shedeur's a pretty a pocket guy who can run, but he's more of a pocket guy.
Yeah, I will say this about these quarterbacks. I know we've been saying it. A lot of people on social media, everyone's this is not a great quarterback class, but it doesn't mean there aren't going to be good quarterbacks come out of this class. It doesn't mean these top 2 guys can't be good NFL starters. So I think if the Browns are up there, I don't hate the idea of taking a shot because you got to try. You have to keep trying until you get it right. I mean, we saw the Cardinals a few years back. They take Josh Rosen, in the top 10 and then turn around the next year and take Kyler Murray and get rid of Rosen. Like if it doesn't work, you just have to keep going until you get it right. And right now we're in the top 3, likely, or I shouldn't say likely, but good chance we get into the top 2 this weekend. And there's 2 guys there. So it's just, I think
so when I'm looking at, when I'm looking at the draft, it would be the Browns would lose, and it would be very big if the Patriots. It would be nice to get number 1, is what I'm saying, to have your choice. And if it stays as it is, and the Patriots have 1, the Titans 2, and we're 3, the only thing I'm a little bit scared about in that situation, and maybe some people won't be scared because they don't want us to take a quarterback anyways, is I think the Patriots will shop that number 1 overall pick because they don't need a quarterback. And then I think somebody would leapfrog the Browns, take either Cam or Shedeur. The Titans will take whichever one's left, and then we'll kind of just be left sitting there dry at number 3 without. And then you take best player available. Maybe you go Travis Hunter. You take the kid out. I think it's Arizona. Or I don't know if Genty goes in the top 5, but who knows? The edge rusher out of Penn State is another guy I've seen a lot. The corner out of Michigan. But I think this team needs offensive help. I'm probably not going defense with my top 5 pick in this draft.
No, I'd be, if it's not a quarterback, it's either a left tackle or a running back. Those are the 2 positions we desperately need help at as well. So we'll see what happens here. I am honestly, and I think it was Gage in the chat said, whenever I mentioned I never thought the Giants would win another game. And he said, I don't think the Giants thought they'd win another game. I don't know what happened there, but they gifted us
That's
one.
a terrible win.
And now we are sitting here actually in serious discussions about, okay, we are in position to take a quarterback in this draft.
So let me ask questions. Why do white QBs get so many chances? Just saying Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr has won one more playoff game than Jameis Winston combined. But Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins have played way higher quality football for a longer stretch of time than Jameis Winston ever has.
And Jameis is still around. So is Jacoby.
Yeah, they're like chances. Jameis just started 7 football games and he turned the ball over 19 times or whatever it was. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. But let me ask you then, do you think the Browns can turn it around and be competitive again next year, or is it a full rebuild? Like, do you think if we take a quarterback at 3, it's a full rebuild?
No, I don't think if you take a quarterback at 3 or 2 or 1, wherever we're at, I don't think if you take a quarterback in the top 3 that it's a full rebuild. I think that you have got to get rid of Ken Dorsey. You've got to figure this offensive system out. This season, I can't watch any more of this. I will watch Saturday. I will watch us lose to the Ravens. We will get humiliated, and that's it. I don't want to watch this shit anymore. So get him out the door. But I think with this defense, we still, like I've said so many times, we still have the core intact. We can run it back with this defense another year. They played well enough this year for us to win multiple ball games that we just handed to other teams because we suck on offense. If you get the quarterback in here, you get a decent bridge guy, you fix the running game, you add some linemen in free agency or however they decide to do it. I think they can be competitive, but it's going to matter who they bring in at those positions and who they bring in to construct the offense and conduct this whole thing.
Did you all see Kirk Cousins this season? Yes, there's a reason he's going to be available. I also know that he is, I don't think 100% healthy this year, and I'm not going to hold Kirk Cousins one 5-game stretch against him when he's got a career body of work that has been very above average. So you get him back with a coach who knows his strengths, who's coached him before. You get him a year removed from that Achilles injury. You get him more healthy. You get some of his mobility back. I think he can play better. I am on the side to when I'm thinking about who we bring in. Do you think we bring in offensive? Do you think Kevin's going to go back and call plays, or do you think? I don't mind if he calls plays, but I think it depends on who the quarterback is going to be. And I've just been thinking about possible names. I think there's a chance Steichen could be available if the Colts fire. I think Shane Steichen could be a good offensive coordinator. I think I said it when they drafted Anthony Richardson. I said, this dude's getting people fired. And it looks like there's a chance there's going to be guys getting fired in Indianapolis. Shane Steichen gave Gardner Minshew a Pro Bowl season last season. And this year, Gardner Minshew couldn't stay on the field in Vegas. But he shredded the Browns' #1 defense last year and was a Pro Bowler. I think Shane Steichen is a very good offensive mind. And I think the organization paid a running back they overpaid a running back who's not that good. And they took a project quarterback at number 4 overall. And then they signed a 40-year-old guy to be a backup who doesn't even play the same style as their starting quarterback. and then wonder why they're not having a great season. So I think Steichen could be a good option. My pipe dream is if the Dolphins miss the playoffs and they were to move on from McDaniels, but I don't think that's going to happen.
What about a Brian Daboll in New York if they decide to hit the reset button?
That's another guy I would consider. I think I talked about him even like a couple months ago when it looked like it was going off the rails there. I think I don't want to go back to 100% of Kevin's offense because if I know we're all crapping on the Browns for making all these changes and bringing in Ken Dorsey, but if everybody remembers, we were all on board with revamping the offensive system. We wanted to see more modern RPOs and read options and pre-snap motion. Like we wanted to see all that. Ken Dorsey wasn't the guy we wanted to bring in. We thought there was way better candidates for the job than Ken Dorsey. So just because I want to get Ken Dorsey out of here doesn't mean I want to just 100% default back to Kevin. I understand that Kevin's offense can be very effective. And if we're going to bring in a veteran quarterback like a Kirk Cousins, then maybe that's the way you want to go. But if we're going to draft a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I don't know if I want to just try to plug Cam Ward into a Kevin Stefanski offense. I don't think that maximizes Cam Ward's strengths. I think you got to do like what the Commanders did. And if you're going to draft Cam Ward, then you got to go find your Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who can maximize his strengths. So I don't think it has to be a full-on rebuild, but I do think the coaching decisions you make, and I think you got it. They better have the plan now. They better be planning the offseason now so they can hit the ground running.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's why we're seeing. It just feels like Kevin's just not as engaged in the game as what we've seen in years past. And hey, I'm hoping these guys are focusing on what are we going to do for next year because this year's a wash. As long as they're planning something, that would be great. Can we fire Ken Dorsey on Sunday? Do we have to wait till Monday? Can we just get rid of him?
I don't think he'll be around long. I don't anticipate it.
Oh man. But the thing is, if we take either of those quarterbacks, we've got to have a running game to support them. You cannot put a rookie quarterback out there and do what the Browns did to all their quarterbacks this year and say, go do it. You're the guy. Go win the game. I understand why they did that with Deshaun because he was supposed to be that guy. He's the veteran. He's the $230 million quarterback. And whenever he couldn't be the guy, we were screwed. So you will not be able to do that with a rookie quarterback. You have to have a running game. It'd be great to do something. I would love to do something similar to what the Lions are doing. Let's look at them as an example where you've got two really great running backs that you can put in at any point in the game and be effective and just maul over the opposing defense that way, and then let your quarterback just sit back there and do his thing. The Lions do not put everything on Jared Goff and say, go win us the game. They have such a good team effort on offense every game, and that's why they're playing so well. And I think you got to have that sort of mentality to help a rookie quarterback for sure.
Do you think if we draft somebody at 2 or 3 or 1, do you think that makes them play right away? Or do you think we'll still go the bridge quarterback route?
We took Baker 1 and still went the bridge. We had Tyrod Taylor. So
different coaching staff.
I'm just saying we've seen it happen in Cleveland before, kind of like that. I would hope they're smart enough to say, okay, we need to at least have another guy in here, a veteran to help. Whether Ward, we draft Ward, he comes in at training camp and they're blown away and say, hey, we have to start him. He's won the job straight up. Okay, fine, that's great, but you got to have another plan in place just in case the rookie comes in and it's a little slow going. We don't want to throw him right out there immediately. Let's get out there, maybe get a few wins in the first 4 or 5 weeks and see where we're at after that point.
No, I completely agree. I think there's some guys that you can start right away, and then there's some guys that you can't. And just because you don't start them right away doesn't mean that they're bust. Some people just develop faster than other people. Like the Commanders would not be going to the playoffs if they weren't starting Jaden Daniels. Yeah. And even though Caleb Williams has obviously struggled at times, I think he's also has like 3 or 4 300 or 300-yard passing games, or 4 or 5 300. Like he's also done some really good things this year, and their coaching staff is awful. Yeah, we'll see what happens when he has like a Ben Johnson next year. So there is. I think it just depends. I think it depends on the offense you're going to run. If you're going to go get a coordinator, like I said, who matches the guy you're going to draft, are you going to get other players to plug into that system that make the system run better? Like right now, I think we're running a system with a bunch of mismatched parts. We got linemen out there who are designed for the power run game. We got them trying to do this outside zone stuff. We have them in the shotgun all the time. We have a quarterback who can't play at Kent State. We have running backs who are better suited for off tackle runs, but our line is more suited for inside runs. And it's like a mismatch of parts right now on the offense. And then you have Ken Dorsey calling plays, and the guy in the Discord said it best. He said, it's like Ken Dorsey is just calling plays in Madden. Like he's just like, this is my play sheet, and I'm just calling random plays. He said it's like nothing. He doesn't do anything in the first quarter to set up something in the second quarter. He doesn't do anything in the first half that he can like see how they're going to line up and then adjust to it and come back. It's like he's just calling random plays.
Yeah,
that's the way it seems.
Yeah, I think he's kind of an idiot, honestly. I just this offensive scheme and game plan, it's an absolute joke. I don't know how to explain it. I've watched Pee Wee football games with more competent offenses being run than what we're seeing on Sundays and Saturdays now with the Browns.